Hello and welcome to episode 75 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all of the things Nintendo. My name is Kevin, and with me this week in the Luigi's Mansion to talk about a game that I stuttered there. I was too impressed with my Luigi's Mansion 2 double usage. To talk about a game performance, Switch Online ports, and Picross puzzles is Harrison. How you doing, Harrison?
Hey, I'm doing good. I do the same thing all the time, so hey, it's all good. We only do one take around here, you know. Like if we mess up,
we're coming straight to you live on tape, as they used to say. I haven't heard that phrase in a long time, live on tape. Probably because we don't use tape anymore. So how was your gaming week, Harrison?
As far as Nintendo goes, I don't really know, so I guess we should move on. I've been playing a lot, like I've been playing a lot of games in short bursts, which I guess the Spotlight game was good for that this week. And I'm trying to think. I feel like I'm missing something. You know what? I'll keep it there because we got some surprises for listeners coming up this week. And that was part of my playing time as well. So, how about you?
I actually did a lot of Nintendo purchasing this week because we finally got the Direct. I had a birthday in May, and I basically saved all of the. I always ask people for like Nintendo Switch Online. What are they called? The eShop cards. And I saved it all until after the Direct. I held off a month. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna, buy 3 games and then find out the Direct has like a bunch of other games I want. So I waited. And now that the Direct is out, I finally did my Nintendo shopping. I did end up getting Luigi's Mansion 2, which I've played before. I beat it on 3DS, but I haven't started it on the Switch yet because I'm still working my way through Thousand Year Door. But I got that. I got Metroid Prime Remaster finally. And what else did I pick up? Oh, I pre-ordered Zelda and Mario and Luigi Brothership. So those are all on the horizon for me. They already got my pre-order.
Wow. It's just crazy that like we went from not knowing about a Zelda game to pre-ordering a Zelda game. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I love that they put the pre-orders up like right away too. So like, I mean, I think they wait until a week before they actually take the money out of your points or whatever. But it's I love that you're just able to set it up now, like set it and forget it. So the modern age, it's a great time to be alive.
It made it really easy to spend money. Spending money is almost too simple. Yeah.
And not really a news item, but with Luigi's Mansion 2 on my mind and with news of it selling so well this week, and Luigi's Mansion 3 already having sold so well, I just wanted to talk about the thing that everybody else is talking about, but it's our turn to talk about it. We're going to see a re-release of the original Luigi's Mansion because it seems like a no-brainer, but I also at the same time can't stress enough how short the game is. It's almost the type of game you could only release in 2001 as a launch title, because you can finish that game in 5 hours. It's basically a tech demo for the GameCube. And I remember there were a couple of games like this back then, like at the turn of the millennium. Zone of Enders on PlayStation 2 I had. That was like a 6-hour game. The Bouncer on the PlayStation 2 did this thing where they basically incorporated the fact that it's really short by encouraging you to do repeat playthroughs by like unlocking characters and stuff. But Luigi's Mansion doesn't give you anything on a repeat play. So yeah, that's what I'm throwing out there. Maybe they could do what they did with Pikmin and make it instead of a remaster, they just basically put up the Switch version, the GameCube version unaltered for like $20. Um, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Complete remake? Just put the port up? Are they ever going to do anything with it?
I just think it's too late. I think they really fumbled this one. I think it should have been a release of one and two together, or they should have released one first and then two. Uh, because the more and I should and for this, I've never played the second game. That's the only one I haven't played, so I'll give my disclosure on that. Uh, but I think it's just, yeah, like I have to agree with some reviewers that it might just be too late. Like they like three was such a big success, they released two, and going back to release one might seem like there might be less enthusiasm about these games now, given the success of how good Luigi's Mansion 3 was.
Well, don't you
So
feel like there's a growing fan base that wasn't there for that original one though? I feel like that is a I don't know how big that fan base is though that would be willing to go back to the older game versus wanting a new game, especially one this
yeah,
short.
yeah, yeah. It is a very short game, so I think releasing one and two together would have been good, or or maybe having the option of like, okay, like you can buy one and two together for like $60 or whatever, or $70, or you can buy them separately for like,
All the time
Luigi's
is
Man.
oh sorry, I lost you for a sec. One thing I see tossed around all the time is people talking about how versus Luigi's Mansion 2, Luigi's Mansion 2 is very mission structured and
Mhm.
they'll talk about how but Luigi's Mansion 1 was great. It was open world. You had the whole mansion to explore. And as someone who's done a recent playthrough, I think people who are saying that online need to go back and replay it. And maybe that's a good reason to re-release it because it is not as open as you all remember. Every door is locked and you get keys to the doors in very specific order. It's linear disguised as open world. You know what I mean? Like you can only go where the game wants you to go. So, not that, not that it's not, you know, the mission based thing is still a different turn for the series in two, but it's not like they just give you the whole mansion to explore right away. So I don't understand where the perception of it being it must be in people's memories that it was so open because it's not the case.
Yeah, it's tough. I think the only thing I can say for sure is that we'll see the original Luigi's Mansion, uh, somehow. We'll see it somehow. But you
Do
could
you think
tell
they'd
me
ever do
that
a complete ground up remake, like from the ground up, like they did for like Super Mario RPG or something like that?
they could, but I almost hope that they don't. I almost like, if it's between putting like, if they're gonna focus on one thing, like if they're only gonna do one thing, I hope it's a new game.
Hmm.
But I mean, I would play it, I would buy it. Uh, I think it's all in play. You could tell me remaster, re-release. You could tell me that it's going to be on the Switch Online service next year. Because like I wonder, with this new system coming around, if we're going to get like DS games or GameCube games on Switch Online service, but then we're also going to be getting re-releases, you know, on the eShop, what all of that's going to look like. I think it's all in play. The only thing I know for sure is that we're going to see it at some point. Just I have no
Yeah,
idea what it's going
Nintendo's
to
been
look like.
getting better at preserving their franchises and making the older games available lately. So hopefully that does mean in some form it shows up. I just hope they don't go the route of putting up the 3DS version, even easier for them to find a way for that to make its way to Switch because I haven't played that version, but I hear it's brighter and the characters don't like have as much emotion to them and stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like if I had to put my money on an option, I think that's what's going to happen. I think the 3DS version is going to get ported to the Switch 2 or something at some point. And the original will just stay on the GameCube. So that's
And
my prediction. Mark it down.
when you think about the length of this game, are you also thinking about just the genre as well? Because like, how long did it take you to beat Metroid Dread?
Well, here's the thing with Metroid Dread is the play times are a little deceiving because when it tells you at the end of the game what your play time was, it doesn't count all the times you died, and it also
Guys.
doesn't count when you're in the menu. You know what I mean? So like if it tells you at the end, I don't remember what my Metroid Dread playtime was. It was probably like 10 hours around there. Um, but that doesn't, like I said, that doesn't include all the time you spend in paused in the menu. It stops the timer for that. And every time you die in replay. So I actually played the game for like 20 hours, probably. But I don't know. That's a good question. I should check my Dread playtime. But I don't know. I feel like the original Luigi's Mansion is shorter than the Metroid Dread second playthrough, even when you know what you're doing. So I don't know.
And it's also just a different game altogether. Like, I'm sure if you're a big fan of those games, you can play Metroid Dread over and over, and it's not going to feel stale.
And
Like for
Dread at
me,
least unlocked a hard mode for you when you finished it. The original Luigi's Mansion, I mean, they could change this, but the original Luigi's Mansion, there's nothing different about doing a second playthrough. Nothing at all. And that's something I feel like
right,
on a game that short, they should at least make that change.
right. And for me, like when I played Metroid Dread, I mean, it was well under 20 hours for like everything, starting, stopping, dying a lot. And then I eventually just traded the game in because I didn't want to go back to it, or I didn't want the hard mode. Like I was good. Like I was like,
Oh yeah, I'm never going to try
yeah,
that hard mode. The last few images in the art gallery that you can only unlock doing hard mode things, they're never getting unlocked. I'm a completionist, but only to a point. If you make it seem like it's gonna ruin my life to try this, I'm not gonna. So yeah, there's some that like you have to beat hard mode in like under a certain time, and I'm not even gonna try.
we're not here to impress people, and
Yeah.
especially it's like it's a single player game as well. You
Yep.
know,
Oh,
get
that's
over
something they
it.
could put in Luigi's Mansion. They could put some kind of art mode in there, throw in like the concept art if they still got it lying around and things like that.
Yeah,
I
I
love when
think
they
the
do things like that.
I think the possibilities are endless. Just please give me another game.
Yeah.
It just it just might be tough. Like I don't know if I just don't know what they're looking towards with the series. I think I was were you surprised when they announced Luigi's Mansion 3? I don't think I was. Like I don't think
No.
I like yeah.
I mean, I didn't expect it to be that big because again, I had played two very recently at that point, and it was also a shorter game. So I didn't expect it to be them to like go all out the way they did, and I'm happy that the one where they went all out was the game in the series that sold the most. So that'll encourage them to do that again in the future. What do you think we will see next? Do you think we will see Luigi's Mansion 4 or Luigi's Mansion in some way, shape, or form re-released?
Okay, I don't know. I have no idea. Like it can go
Well, if you
so
if
many
you
it can
had
go
to if you
so
had
many
to if you had to pick one,
okay. Okay. I'll do a fun
none of it
prediction.
matters. None of this matters.
I,
It's all
I,
podcasting.
I'll do a fun prediction, and you know what? This game is already in development because hey, new system's coming out soon. They're going to release a new Luigi's Mansion. It's not going to be called Luigi's Mansion 4, but it's going to be Luigi's Mansion that includes a female protagonist. Oh, who is that going to be? Um, a Daisy?
Daisy? Yeah.
Daisy. Okay, so it's gonna be Luigi and Daisy, and it's going to be a sequel, but they're not going to call it Luigi's Mansion 4. It'll be Luigi and Daisy um, Mansion Madness, and they're not going to call it 4 because 3 was so successful. Okay, so
I'm looking at the
there we
list
go.
right now of the best-selling Switch games, and Luigi's Mansion 3 is the 15th best-selling Switch game, which is, you know, a very big achievement considering I'm looking at this and like eight of the games above it, not eight, but let me see. One, two, three, four, five of the games above it on this list are Pokemon games. So yeah, that's a pretty big achievement. And then you've got the Zeldas, of course, too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just I'm kind of saving it because we're going to be doing Luigi's Mansion closer to Halloween, and when
Yeah.
we talk about our best Switch games, but it's just a fantastic game. like I think every time we talk about it, I just want to play it. It's just like one
Yeah.
of those games where it's one of those games where if I think about like Breath of the Wild too much, or I think about like Hades too much, or I think about this game, I'm just like I just want to play it now. So
We talk a lot
yeah,
now
it's
that I'm
definitely
looking at. Oh, sorry.
there's definitely a future, no matter what it is. That's where I'm leaving it.
Yeah. So now that I'm looking at this list real quick, I just want to point this out. We talk about Mario Kart 8 selling so well all the time on here. It's currently looks like it's at 61, almost 62 million, which is crazy. Uh, Animal Crossing New Horizons, we don't mention very often. That's the number 2 game, and it has sold 45 million copies. That's crazy. I mean, that
Keeps going
means
up.
we could be seeing an Animal Crossing game within the first year of the Switch 2 with sales like that.
Well, they did change their cover photos on
Oh.
on some of their social media,
Mm.
which makes people like me and all Animal Crossing fans go, "What's going on, guys?"
It
Because
raises an eyebrow, as they say.
because you're not updating New Horizons. You already said that. So, are you planning a new game? Are you planning a smaller game? Like, are you bringing New Leaf to NSO? Like, what's going on? Um, so that just saying, I think there might be something going on with that.
I mean, if anyone out there doesn't have a frame of reference for like how much 45 million copies is, I just very quickly just pulled up the PlayStation 4, so a system that's been out long enough to compare for sure. I was like, what are the PlayStation 4's top selling games? Marvel's Spider-Man is the top selling, well, tied with Grand Theft Auto 5. Both of them only sold 20 million. So half, less than half sold. That's crazy.
Well, a good comparison is compare it to any other Animal Crossing game. Like when has there been a game where it's like the fifth or sixth installment of a game and it outsells every other game by like multiples of 4 or more? Like, I don't know what the second best Animal Crossing selling game is, but it was a combination of the fact that it released in March of 2020 as well, and it was the perfect like stay at home and be stuck at home game. But yeah, I mean, if they get half of the install base for a new Animal Crossing game, it will be a massive success. It will be a huge success if they only get half of the people that played New Horizons on a new game.
Yeah, I looked up PlayStation 5 and Xbox while you were talking there. PlayStation 5's top selling game is 11 million copies, and Xbox is only 9 million. What is it? Yeah,
Well, the next question would be hardware sales because like, are there 45 million PS5s out there?
it's a good question.
I mean,
They sold more
it,
games than you've sold consoles. That's crazy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I don't know. Just like the first year, they sold like barely any
yeah,
because there just wasn't that many of them. I mean, I had friends paying over $1,000 imported to get PS5 that first year. It's crazy.
yeah. And if you want to move into news, that's something that was in the news this week. Is Nintendo is apparently beefing up its production and making sure that there aren't any shortages when the Switch 2 drops, and they've even like cryptically hinted at using other methods to stop scalping, but they didn't exactly say what it was. They said like the article said something like whatever is within the legal limits of certain states or something like that. Did you read that article?
No,
Um, let me
keep
see if
going.
I can.
I'm very interested in hearing this though.
I get a pleasant one I pulled up for the podcast, but now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to try to pull it back up. I think it was on my Nintendo news. Let me see here.
It's
Like, I don't know how they're going to stop scalpers other than making the supply plentiful.
you can't do that. It's a nice thought. I mean, but scalpers aren't something that a company can really deal with, right? It's more of like a state by state, like I don't know how they deal with it, but that's why I'm very interested in hearing what this is about.
Yeah, I can't find it again. The the thing that it made me think of, though, it reminded me of how they cut down on scalpers for those Switch Online controllers. Was they made you they made it require a Switch Online subscription to buy them, and that really helped, but it obviously didn't completely prevent it.
I Man, I don't know, like just because I think I've just been exposed to too much, and Kevin, maybe you have too with like traveling abroad and stuff, but like it's out of control, man. Like even if you cut down on scalping just in America, like you're still dealing with a lot,
And the,
you
Nintendo
know?
also loves to do their limited edition things, and it's almost like they support scalpers at a certain point with those.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
I mean,
not even just limited like physical copy runs, but also like they'll do these amiibos that have limited runs, or they'll do special edition Switch systems that have very few units available. They do it all the time.
yeah. I know I saw this week Nintendo's going after the people who made the what's called the MiG launcher or whatever, the one where you can stick like a micro SD like into your, like you don't even need to jailbreak your Switch. You can just put it right into like a normal Switch and play games on it. I
Yeah.
think they're going. I think they're going after that now, which was like, yeah, of course they are. And if you were someone who made videos on it, like they might be going after you too. So yeah, yeah, even if the problem stopped in America, which scalping in America has just become like a huge issue. Uh, I don't think I think it's still such a big worldwide problem. I mean, I see some horrible, horrible things over where I live. Just like people selling things online that they should never be selling before, but I live like in some random spot, like it's just so much. And it's been an issue for as long as I've been alive.
Well, we won't solve it tonight. moving on to other news. Nintendo added some games to Nintendo Switch Online this week, and I've already added them to the randomizer. So we got Urban Champion, Golf, Donkey Kong Jr. Math, Mech Rider, The Mystery of Atlantis, Solar Jetman, and Cobra Triangle. Solar
All
Jetman,
for
all for NES, yes, the
yes.
original, the base of the service. I thought Golf and Donkey Kong Math were already on there, but I guess I was just thinking of Open Golf, which we've reviewed already.
Right. Very similar. Very similar. Um, which games are you looking forward to? This is a huge mix of NES games. Basically
Cobra
going
Triangle, I
from
remember playing when it was like a current game. Like I remember that was a cartridge passed
yeah,
around my neighborhood. I never owned it, but I know it was around in my childhood. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to replaying that.
yeah. And did you see? I never knew until yesterday. Cobra Triangle was featured in Donkey Kong Country 3 for Game Boy Advance. Yes.
That's interesting. They used to do that all the time. See, they could have just, for all we know, Luigi's Mansion 4 is going to have Luigi's Mansion in it as a bonus feature. Like, remember when they would do that type of stuff?
Right. And Cobra Triangle was not a game I remember playing for NES, so I'm looking forward to it. It looks great. I mean, I was watching videos of it yesterday, and Rare just like they couldn't miss. Like in this time period, even 1990, like they just could not miss on the game. So I'm looking forward to that game. I'm looking forward to Solar Jetman. Um, the rest, Mystery of Atlantis, I've never played. I've played Mac Rider, Golf, Urban Champion. Like Urban Champion's real old. Uh, it has not aged well, in my opinion. Golf is great, but but if you've played Open Golf, that's a much better option. And yeah, like basically from 1983 to 1990, um, is where these games range. Oh, Golf just turned 40 years old last month. I saw some people playing that game because it had a 40th birthday anniversary.
I feel like Urban Champion is the type of game you see on sitcoms when like two people are playing a generic
Yes.
video game. That's
Oh,
exactly what it is.
it's ridiculous. Like isn't Urban Champion like you end up like throwing the person into a sewer and the lady comes out and she like applauds and everything. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's just
it is the most bare bones. Definitely check it out, listeners, if you're not familiar with it. It's like the most bare bones 8-bit fighting game. It's just like so primitive and like so it's almost surreal in how much, like I said, it looks like on a sitcom when they play a generic game. So even the
yeah,
characters are just generic. They don't have anything
just
special about their appearance.
yeah. And Urban Champion has been referenced at where it was used in Smash Brothers Melee. I think it was used in some Smash Brothers game, but I think that's the only time it's been used in like any. Then I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong saying this. It's the only one that I remember at least. Um, big mix of games. They should all be on the service, most likely. I've never played Mystery of Atlantis. I don't know. I'm looking forward to some of them. Did you see that Nintendo did Furukawa did a Q&A with investors talking about AI?
I did, but it's not. If you want to talk about it, feel free. It's nothing that like nothing that jumped out to me as like pretty much every company, major company, is talking about AI in the same way right now because they know people are scared of it. So they're all saying like, "Look, we're looking into it, but it's not going to replace anything, so don't worry." Like they're all giving out these like very generic statements, and it just felt more of the same.
It was very generic. Um, I'll give you my quick take, and I'll read it for the listeners. They did a Furukawa did a Q&A with investors. They posted it on the Nintendo Japan website. Translated, when talking about AI technology, it says, in the game industry, AI-like technology has long been used to control enemy character movements. So game development and AI technology have always been closely related. Generative AI, which has been a hot topic in recent years, can be more creative. But we also recognize that it has issues with intellectual property rights. Our company has decades of know-how in creating optimal gaming experiences for our customers. While we are flexible in responding to technological developments, we hope to continue to deliver value that is unique to us and cannot be created through technology alone. Close quote. Yeah, very generic. Especially when it's translated, it sounds super, super generic. But I'll just end with saying that, I have lots of confidence as Nintendo as a company, which might be more hopeful than anything. But hey, like, we have a Nintendo podcast. I have to be hopeful about this company. But overall, I have lots of confidence just as us as gamers, as consumers as well. Like, if Nintendo or any big company comes out with a game that implements AI the wrong way, I think people are going to be very quick to say that it's not a game that they enjoy or that they would be interested in the future. So I think Nintendo is very understanding of where they are as a company, and that their business model is driven by creating authentic experiences for their consumers. Of course, they're focused on money, but they've always taken the approach of, if we create those experiences, then the money's going to follow it. That's my opinion. That's how I'll close it.
Game of the Year 2026, Will Smith spaghetti eating simulator. That's what we're gonna see.
And they also have not gone after Pal World. If you want to include that as well, like the creators of Pal World said that nobody at Nintendo has reached out to them regarding IP or anything copyright, any
Yeah, it
issues like
sounds
that.
like the whole Pal World Nintendo rivalry is just like a comment section fueled. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like there's any merit to it.
Can I go one step further?
Sure.
Might be a bit mean. Um, it's comments by people who don't play games. Like have you played Dragon Quest? Or have you played other games on the Switch that are on Nintendo Switch that are Pokemon clones, like Cassette
Yeah, there's a
Beast
lot
or
of Breath of the
Nexamon
Wild clones. A lot of Breath of the Wild clones too that
or
they don't go after.
yeah. Or I mean, there's tons of Zelda clones on the Switch system. They don't
Hmm.
care. It's
Yeah.
not Zelda. It's not Pokemon. And it's not the first company it wasn't the first one to do it. Like, I was watching a video yesterday of all of these models they didn't use in Gen 1 Pokemon. Dude, it's Dragon Quest. Like, they modeled so much of the Gen 1 characters after Dragon Quest. Is it
Yeah.
wrong? No. Like, that's the whole point in all of this. So that's what I think. It's people who don't really pay attention, I think, sometimes, and then they're reactionary.
Yeah.
It's just how the internet is.
Yeah, because they love a good they love seeing like a corporate battle like that. Like, ooh, they're gonna sue them, and oh, it's gonna be like the people love that kind of drama, whether it exists or not. All right, moving on down the list. We got our tournament kind of winding to a close here for Nintendo's biggest mistakes. We're right at the edge of getting to the final round. We're right before it. And the match that we have been left with here for what is Nintendo's biggest mistake. If you haven't been listening, that's the whole tournament. Go back to older episodes to listen to older matches, but we have boiled today down to which was the bigger mistake for Nintendo. Breaking their partnership with Sony and the PlayStation, or the Virtual Boy? Which of these two was the bigger mistake for them? I know I have my pick. Let me hear what you have to say, Harrison.
I am leaning in a direction, but I did not make my pick because I wanted to frame a question to you and kind of figure it out like we did last week. We've the Nintendo giving up on PlayStation, we've done for 2 rounds already. So I'll reiterate that I think this might be the most consequential as far as gaming as a whole, the most consequential mistake, if we call it, because Nintendo being more of a partner with PlayStation could have potentially changed the console wars and just home console gaming just as we know it.
And the
But
clickbaity way people like to write that is that Nintendo created their biggest competitor. So you could say it that way.
right, right, but potentially like it could have not changed so much, or it could have changed a lot of things. But um, go back if you need to. I don't want to talk about the same things for the third time, so I'm going to kind of move ahead though. What I would like to say though is that does it make it less of a mistake? And then when we're talking about influence, did the Virtual Boy have any influence for hardware, software that followed it? Virtual Boy was a failure that lost a lot of money, but was never considered to be a home console, similar to like the N64 disk drive. There's a lot of unknowns for Nintendo and PlayStation, so I'm a bit in the middle. So I guess my question to you is, did the Virtual Boy have influence for anything that followed it?
I mean, yes and no. It's had minimal influence. There are definitely things that got taken from Virtual Boy games and incorporated later. Like, for example, I've seen so many online videos forget about Mario Tennis. Virtual Boy's Mario Tennis was the first Mario Tennis, and it's been completely forgotten as that part of the franchise. So you got that. You've also got a lot of the platforming ideas from the Wario Land game were eventually incorporated into other games. And Wario Land as a franchise, actually, that was the first Wario Land as well. You had Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3 before it, but it wasn't its own franchise yet. But other than that, I mean, there's only 14 games. So there's only
Right.
so much you can take from it before you have to start even looking at games that were in development that weren't ever released and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. It definitely had a big impact in that it made the inventor of the Game and Watch and the Game Boy retire out of shame. So there's an impact that it had.
Yeah, and he also, I'll throw this in here. He also passed away a couple years later as well. So there was that. So kind of a sad ending to
the legacy.
to
Yeah.
the legacy of someone who, like, if he had lived longer, would have seen like his technology just take off in all different directions.
Yeah, the DS,
Uh,
for example, the DS was
yeah,
hugely influenced by the Game and Watch.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, very, yeah. I don't know. I seriously don't know what your answer is going to be. I see Virtual Boy more as like the N64 disk drive, to where like it did cost Nintendo a lot of money, but I don't know how much confidence Nintendo had with the Virtual Boy going into it. It was never a main console. Um,
yeah, it was
but
supposed to be more the successor to the Game Boy than anything else, and it was the production on it was canceled. We said last time we brought it up less than a year after it was released. That's really quick for a company to give up on a system. It was, I don't even know if it was 6 months that it lasted. Let me find, it was released July of 95 and discontinued in Japan in December of 9. So it was released in North America. Let me get the Japanese release date because that's less than 6 months. It was released in July of 95 in North America and had already been discontinued by December of 95 in Japan.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's very, very similar to what happened with the disk drive. You know, like they gave
Oh,
up on that before it was even released.
that was that, oh my God, that was I was trying to give it a few more months of life, but that was the Japanese release date. It was released in July of 95 and discontinued in December. That's crazy. It
Yeah,
released in August in North America, so we got it a month later. We got one less month of Virtual Boy.
yeah. Dang, it was just a bit different back then, wasn't it? I mean, it just like
I'm surprised I
I
had one. The more I look into how few it sold and how short a window it was available in, I am surprised I had one.
and regret not having one now. You know,
I
um,
really do wish I had one now or that I bought one before they got crazy expensive. They're like $200 now and I'm not spending that. But I've got a desk now where it would sit perfectly and I could, play Mario Tennis every now and again and it would be fun, but yeah, I'm not spending $200 on one.
uh, so I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I framed this well enough, but uh, what are you going with? I have an
I
idea, but
think
what? Yeah,
I'm going to continue the logic I have used for each one of these rounds and I am basically measuring actual impact versus like theoretical impact. And Virtual Boy definitely had more of an actual impact on the company than what we can theorize would have happened if the PlayStation did come out. You know what I mean? The PlayStation that Nintendo was working on could have gone through a million other changes before it was released from what we even know. So there's no way of knowing. It's crazy that they created their own competition, but they seem to be holding their own. It's not like they created the company that put them out of business or anything. So, yeah, I think I'm going with Virtual Boy.
I think I'm going to Virtual Boy 2. This was difficult. I feel like these were two pretty big hypotheticals,
Mm-hmm.
and uh,
Yeah, the hypothetical for the Virtual Boy is what if it was successful? Like, what does that video gaming landscape look like if the Virtual Boy took off and actually got an accessory where you could strap it to your head and things like that? And I don't know. Would have been nice. Would have been nice to at least have gotten a link cable so you could have done multiplayer.
and not surprised that like our final four were all hardware mistakes, and then our final round is going to be Wii U versus Virtual Boy, which it feels like it feels like we went through a like the playoffs and we ended up with the two best teams is what it feels like, or the two worst
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah, the two
However,
most
saying that.
legendary. The two most legendary for sure. It's
Okay.
it's going to be an interesting conversation of which hurt Nintendo more because all of, I feel like we made the right decision in every one of these rounds. The other stuff, yeah, a lot of it was bad decisions, but like randomly picking old examples. How much did selling fewer copies of Mortal Kombat hurt Nintendo in the long run? You know, it wasn't even their game. How much did not buying Rare hurt Nintendo in the long run? Those weren't their characters. They got to keep their characters. So things like that. Like it's these are we're down to the final two that I think Nintendo is actually trying to make us forget about.
I wasn't planning on this, but the the third place matchup would be kind of intriguing. Real quick, Kevin, what would you do? Would you say a bigger mistake was the N64 disk drive or Nintendo not doing the PlayStation?
I think I'm gonna also not pick the PlayStation this time. I think the disc drive, to me, is the biggest disappointment of the two because I don't know if it's because I read all of those video game magazines at the time and was so obsessed with wanting a disc drive. Also mixed with the fact that the Nintendo 64 always felt like it was missing just a little bit more. Like the library is small, and there's always like an asterisk next to it whenever you talk about successful systems. Is like it was successful for what it did, but it definitely didn't dominate that generation. Drive could have given it what it needed to be more comparable to a PlayStation. Um, it Yeah, I honestly would have rather have seen the Nintendo 64 get a little bit more to it than seeing what the I don't know. I don't know if I like the idea of the Nintendo PlayStation. You know what I mean? I feel like that was doomed to come off like the Sega CD would have.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you because I think the N64 disk drive had it gone up against like the Virtual Boy, had it like fallen in the same bracket, could have been interesting. So I think the disk drive would is our third place and was a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
It just seemed like they spent forever trying to think about what it could be, and then eventually we're like, we got to actually make this thing now. And they never really like committed to any direction.
I'm very excited for this last round next week. We're going to be finishing it off, and uh, I don't know. I actually don't know who's going to win this one, but I think we should leave it there. We have a little time for Mario Picross, and I don't think we need that much time for this game.
Yeah, so real quick onto the spotlight game. Mario Super Picross came out in Japan in September of 1995. It was not released in North America. After the failure of Mario's Picross on Game Boy in North America, they decided not to release this game. So the game was made available for download on the Wii's Virtual Console service, and now it is also on the Switch. I believe it was on the Wii U as well through the Virtual Console. Um, and yeah, so it's on Switch Online. It's another one of those non-translated games. If you haven't played it, it is basically Minesweeper meets Sudoku, if you want to combine those two puzzles. What are your thoughts?
I love Minesweeper. I love Sudoku, and I swear I played this game, this like this SNES game when I was a kid. I guess I didn't. I guess I played like the Game Boy version, and then I played this on like the Virtual Console. But I mean, basically, it's pretty easy to figure out whether or not you're going to like this game. If you like logic puzzles, if you like Minesweeper, if you like Sudoku, and you like Mario, this is probably a good pick for you. This game apparently is starts out easier than the Game Boy version of it. Did you notice the first level, the the kanji spells out Mario Picross? That's like the first level.
Oh
The,
yeah,
the,
yes.
all,
Yep.
all the symbols that you get in the first level. Um, so I mean, it's easy to pick up. It's super easy to play in short spurts, which I like. It's just that I would end by saying that if you enjoy these types of games like I do, chances are you already have games of this genre that you're playing that you enjoy. Because
Hmm.
I play Sudoku quite a lot. I'll probably go towards that because I like numbers. Um, so I wouldn't pick this game up and like play it on my system because I wouldn't really just think about it too much. There's so many games in this genre. Oh, and last thing, there are translations of this game online. So I do have to bring that up every time it comes up. There are technically better ways of playing this game than the online service. So once again, Nintendo, what are you doing? Like, I know you want to keep it authentic, but like, why not give us some translated ROMs?
Yeah, I
I
saw
think it would
that.
help. I think it would help.
I saw that, and that weighed heavily on my ranking. um,
Yeah.
where it just felt like a lazy, where they just slapped it up there. There's very few levels to this game to begin with. Um, this to me was a dud of an addition to NSO, and I ranked it extremely low. It's going all the way down at the bottom three of my list because, like you said, if I'm in the mood for something like this, I'll play Sudoku. I'll play a puzzle game on pen and paper before I will ever boot this thing up again. So I'm sure it has its audience. I'm just not in that audience, and I'm not saying if you like this game, don't take this as a knock at you personally. It just wasn't for me, and I ranked it all the way down at number 75. It is the only games I ranked lower were NES Pro Wrestling, which, if people remember, I couldn't figure out how to play. I have no idea how to control that game. And Game Boy's Quest for Camelot, which is basically an unfinished game. So those are the games I have ranked lower. And it's above it is Spanky's Quest. That finally got a little boost. It's been at the bottom forever.
Yeah, I put it at 33, which is right below all of the Dr. Mario games that I just put together is there. Yeah, it's a game that I enjoy a lot, despite not having a reason to go back to it. And hey, like seriously, if you enjoy like logic puzzles, I did enjoy getting into this game and and just thinking about, okay, like I can put this number of tiles here, but then I have to come back and I have to like think about things in like opposite ways. So it really got my brain going in a way that I enjoy. So I would say like check it out if you enjoy those types of games. And I'm throwing it in the middle because I do enjoy those games. It's just unfortunate that it's not, in my opinion, it's not the optimal way to play this game through the service. So there's that. Uh,
All right, let's
what are we
find out
playing
what
next?
we are playing next time. Yeah. Next week, we are playing Punch Out featuring Mr. Dream for the NES. We might as well do Super Punch Out as well. Pair them together.
Yeah.
So we're doing the Punch Out games on Spotlight next week, and we will punch them out of our list. And you will hear. I gotta make sure Sean knows because I think he's actually a big fan of these. So he's we haven't said it on the show. Sean is very busy with work during the summertime. He's not gone. He's just maybe gone for a month or two from the show, but he'll be back. And I'll make sure to let him know we're doing the Punch Out games in case he wants to join. So yeah, that is that. And thank you very much for listening. We have been Nintendo Therapy, and we know you have a choice in podcast, and we thank you for choosing ours. If you'd like to get a hold of us, Nintendo Therapy on Twitter, Nintendo Therapy on Reddit. We got a subreddit there. And Nintendo Therapy Pod at gmail.com. Just keep in mind, we're Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So we probably got a lot of stuff wrong. We'll see you all next week. Thank you very much.